Hello everybody, in this new video I'm going to be talking about shaft weight and stiffness and how it can affect the trajectory of the ball but also the technique of the player. I've chosen two shafts with completely different weights and stiffnesses, the TPT 21 high, which is 45 grams, and the 14 low, which is 85 grams. I've been testing these on my Foresight quad and my gears system, and I'd like to share the results with you today. So let's get stuck in.
So here are the results from the test. So you got the 21 high, so the lighter shaft, and the 14 low, the heavier one. And right off the bat, we can see there's more ball speed on the lighter shaft, but we also have a higher launch angle and more spin. So total distance was less with the lighter shaft than with the heavier shaft. This being obviously because of the spin rates being much lower with the lower shaft. The side angle was interesting as well, because with the lighter shaft, the starting direction was more to the right. The side angle was more to the right with the lighter shaft, which confirms the fact that more torque on the shaft will give a starting direction more to the right than with the heavier shaft. And you can see, as I said, that the distance was pretty much the same in the air, but just a little bit longer with the lower shaft because of the spin. So when we look at the club data, you can see straight away that the reason I was having more ball speed with the lighter shaft is just the fact that I was swinging it faster. So obviously it being lighter, it was easier to move, and I could actually swing that 3 miles faster than the heavier shaft. It's created some more dynamic loft, obviously probably through a deflection. We'll see that on gears afterwards. And the dynamic lie was slightly flatter, so there's more droop going on here as well with the lighter shaft. Face angle, as we saw with the starting direction, was more open, and the path was slightly more to the right as well with the lighter shaft. Quite interesting to see as well that the angle of attack was slightly more upwards with the lighter shaft, so that is also directly related to the deflection. I think we should now look at exactly what was going on in my gear system.
So here we are on my gears system, with my two avatars. On the left with the light shaft and on the right with the heavy shaft. I'm just going to overlay these two avatars here so you can see exactly what's going on at the same time in each swing. I'm going to start with the light shaft. So at this point in time you can see there's a lot of deflection going on, positive deflection. At this time we're at 74 millimeters of deflection. It was actually up to 100 at this point here. So the light shaft is really being moved in all sorts of different directions here. If I go to the blue shaft, we're going to see straight away there's a lot less deflection, pretty much 25 millimeters, so a third of what we had over here. I'm going to take the light shaft up the top now, and we can already see a huge amount of droop deflection now. So vertical deflection are up to 133 millimeters of droop, which is really enormous here. So just that the weight of the head pulling the shaft down. Just to compare that with the heavy shaft, we're only at 43. So I mean, a complete difference in how the shaft is being moved here. And this, seeing as it's not being deformed as much as with the yellow one, I can already start to load it. So I've already got negative deflection with the heavier shaft, whereas I'm still in positive deflection with the lighter one. I'm going to take the lighter one just to the beginning of the downswing now, and we've still got all this deformation going on here with still 62 millimeters of droop, but 26 of negative deflection. So we're already starting to load this shaft now. And what was quite interesting for me is when I took the blue one down here as well, a lot less droop, but we've got pretty much the same deflection, actually more negative deflection with the heavier shaft. So it was actually easier to load the heavier shaft, probably just because I knew where it was, just having more presence in the swing, just being able to load it earlier. I'm just going to take the yellow one down now to impact, and you'll be able to see, let's get rid of all of that, let's just see exactly what's going on at impact now. So there we are, and we're at 34 millimeters of positive deflection, so you can see the head being pushed towards the target and deforming the bottom of the shaft. So I do the same thing with the blue. Let's take him down to impact as well, and we've only got 15, so pretty much half the deflection with the blue shaft. So this is going to change how the club head comes into the ball. It's going to change many things. So if you just look at the dynamic loft now, at impact with the light shaft, we're up to 16.5 degrees, and the angle of attack is 6.5 degrees up. Same thing on the blue. We've only got 11 degrees of dynamic loft with the blue shaft, and we're only 4.5 degrees up. So just being heavier and stiffer has brought the angle of attack down, and it's also brought the dynamic loft down and reduced the spin loft. So that's obviously why we had a much lower ball flight with the heavier and stiffer shaft, and obviously why we had less spin. And with the lighter shaft, more of an angle of attack upwards and more dynamic loft, so higher trajectory and more spin. Let us scroll this down to what's going on with the twist or the torque. It's quite interesting to see as well that with the heavier and stiffer shaft that we had negative torque, 1.67 negative, i.e. the shaft is being twisted towards the target, that's why we had the club face more closed with the stiffer and heavier shaft than with the lighter shaft here. We can see the twist is just slightly positive with the lighter shaft. So that's why the balls were slightly more to the right. Face to path was more neutral with the lighter shaft. So lots of things going on here. So it's quite interesting. The swing didn't really change that much. My feelings swinging the club was completely different, obviously. Swinging the heavier shaft was definitely more physical. But pretty much the same swing, but the shaft moving in two completely different ways and creating a different dynamic loft and different angular attack and different face angles. So really interesting to look at this on my gear system. So to summarize, two totally different sensations swinging these different shafts. The 14 low was obviously way too heavy for what I'm capable of moving, but what was very interesting to see how the energy transfer was quicker with that stiffer shaft. It obviously brought down the dynamic loft, which brought down the spin. So if I was going to play this sort of shaft, I'd need more loft. The opposite side with the 21 high, I could swing this much easier, more clubbed head speed, but more dynamic loft, more spin. So if I was going to play this shaft, I'd had to bring the dynamic loft down to bring the spin down. And this is pretty much what's going on in the long driving world now. They seem to be gravitating more towards lighter shafts and then bringing the dynamic loft down to bring the spin down, more distance with more speed. So it's very interesting for me to look at this as a research point of view, seeing how both shafts affected the way I was going to swing the golf club and the way it affected the trajectory. Hope this video has helped you understand a bit more how shafts work and how they can affect the trajectory and the player. And I hope to see you soon in some more new videos.